For many Excel users, some of the most important functions they use are lookup functions. In this course, I'll be covering many of those functions, including the widely used VLOOKUP, as well as the all-important XLOOKUP, destined to replace both VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, while expanding the capabilities of both of those functions. I'll also be showing you some of the newer dynamic array lookup functions, like unique, filter, sort, and sort by, changing the way you use Excel and opening up new horizons as you work with formulas and functions. Hi, I'm Dennis Taylor. I've been working with Excel for many years, and I'm looking forward to showing you many of Excel's powerful and important lookup functions. On this worksheet called Match, we've got some data over in columns A, B, and C. It's a little over 200 rows. And in column E, I've got some social security numbers here. I simply want to know, do they exist in the list? So in cell F2 here, I'll use the function called match. Often match is straightforward, easy to use. I've got a lookup value. It's in cell E2, comma. I'm trying to see if it exists over in column B. It's a good idea in examples like this, for a couple of reasons, to use the entire column reference. If you're going to be making checks like this frequently, if the list grows or shrinks, when you use a column reference, you don't have to worry about adjusting the address. And also, when we see the answer too, you'll see the advantage. So we're trying to find this social security number in cell E2. We're looking over in column B, comma, and with ID type numbers, and certainly this one, we're looking for an exact match. There are three options here, comma, 0. Enter, we found a match. If you use the column reference, the result here, the 4, corresponds with the row number. If I were using B2 colon B300, or whatever it might be, the answer would be off by 1 row. So that's handy there. It's in the 4th row, and of course you can see it immediately. And we'll copy these into the next 2 cells just to check on the other ones that we have there. And this one is the default answer that we get if there is no match. Now, nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's what you might want. But a recommendation here could be, and I'll do it on the top cell and copy it down, we could insert the function called if_error, and the logic here suggests if this match causes an error, comma, let's display something different. Maybe a space, maybe a 0, or possibly just, within double quotes, any text to string we want, like not found. Right parenthesis, enter. And I'll simply copy this down into the next 2 cells. And again, the logic is, if this causes an error, display not found, but if it does not cause an error, simply display the result. So we can see how that's working. It'll also work in the case of names. I'll simply, with the right mouse button, drag this down to here, copy it here, and readjust the column entry. We're now looking in column A, so I'll simply click column A, and we'll get the same kind of result here, and that's not found. Now, I'm pretty sure it's there. A good idea when you're working with text entries, I'm going to double click in this cell to the left, but off to the right edge of it. Looks like there's a trailing space with backspace there. Now it looks like it's a match. But let's copy this down. Looks like we got a match there too. That's in row 14. But what happens if there's a leading space? Now that you probably would see and would adjust on the fly, but even if we had a bigger list here, multiple spaces, we got the same problem there, not found. But another approach here is, if you have lots of entries here and it's too tedious to clean up each one of them, we possibly could use within this a function called trim. Trim gets rid of leading spaces, trailing spaces, and it even converts multiple consecutive interspaces to one space. So we're likely to find this now. There we are. So some thoughts on how we work with this. And by the way, the match function only works within a single column or a single row. If I return to the social security number that we're seeing up here in E2, what if I were looking in the list over there? You probably can see that it's there, but if I were to change the location that we're looking at, in other words, instead of looking in column B, if we were looking in these cells here, what do we find? It's a not found, but yet I think you can see that it's here. So this only works within a single column or a single row, but it's generally straightforward, as I suggested earlier, and most of the time I think you're going to be looking for an exact match. That's the 0. The other options, the -1 and the 1, certainly have a role to play, but not nearly as commonly used as the 0, meaning exact match.